cause I thrive. I might just blow your mind tonight. I'm so hyped, but it's no hype. From this height, it's direct hits on sight. I'm your type, lend me your ears to show you that there's something in me. I'm not giving up, I'm standing right here, holding these days hostage. And I'll make this my year. We turning fear into love, and the love's in the air. I love doing this cause nothing compares. Nothing can share that same type of feeling when you feeling them flares. They can't catch it, it's havoc. I rip to a tear, switch the scenario. My stereos, I leave them impaired. Variables start to change and they're all in my range. I just gotta grab it, it's all mathematics. Every step is drastic, I make it fantastic. I'm trying to take your breath away. Asthmatic.
This is live through the stereo. Go and let it blow, blow through the stereo. I'ma let them know through the stereo. Yo, here we go through the stereo, stereo. This is live through the stereo. Go and let it blow, blow through the stereo. I'ma let them know through the stereo. Yo, here we go through the stereo, stereo.
Yeah, just nod your head with it, so explicit and vivid. Every image is intricate, intimate. I put my all into it. No scrimmage and no rules. I'm a pro tool. Hear my heartbeat beat into the vocals. I'm so loco, lost my mind. Oh no, it's ponderoso, dope. So no overdose, cause it's dope, yo. Man, this is house grown, mixed with some milestones. So I let the style flow down like the Dow Jones, bringing it with some foul tones, letting the crowd know we getting loud, so it's eardrum rudiments. Yeah, we bring it rude again. Move, little hooligan. Music for tuning in, full time to the 10. I'm on my clock like I told you. I'm doing this for dreams we pursuing.
Hey everybody, welcome back to the Anti-Media Radio Show. Once again with your host Nick Bernabe here on ucy.tv and the antimedia.org/radio. Really happy to be back alive and well on this Monday, March 12th, 2018. A little bit of everything, nothing big on the philosophy front tonight that we're going to be covering, but just some basic news stuff and some commentary on the news, I guess. And I should be getting joined here by our awesome journalist, Jake Anderson. What's up, Jake? You on there?
Yeah, I'm here.
What's up, man? How you doing tonight?
Oh, pretty good. One of those days.
One of those days. It's a Monday, and we had an hour less of sleep, right? I mean, I guess that's the first news topic. This daylight savings time thing is just an absolute farce. I mean, the government can say, hey, you know what? We're by mandate, we're going to adjust the time. I saw this hilarious satire article that they were moving the Stonehenge stones back an hour. Some interesting stuff. We may be putting out an article tomorrow about daylight savings time. Apparently, there's actually some legitimate negative health effects that come along with, arbitrarily changing the time like this, other than just losing an hour of sleep. Sleep's really important. Losing an hour can give you, adverse health effects and stuff like that. I woke up this morning. I'm like, how in the fuck is it already 10 o'clock in the morning? I normally get up at like 9 o'clock, like on the, right on the dot. I'm up. I get up like an hour or two before that, but I'm up at 9. And I got up this morning. It was already 10. I'm like, what the hell is going on? Then I remembered. I'm like, oh shit, they changed the time. That's right.
I thought it happened at midnight on Saturday night.
Yeah, Saturday. But Sunday, it's like you wake up whenever the hell you want.
Yeah. No, I went to bed pretty late on Saturday night or Sunday morning, and then I looked down. I was like, "Wait a minute! I know it's late, but there's no way it's that late." And I was like, "It really feels like I lost an hour. What the hell is going on?" And then the next day, I was like, "Oh yeah, I did lose an hour."
Yeah, it'll throw you off, dude. It'll throw you off. So everyone's pissed off about that, but I mean, it is kind of a weird thing. But we got some bigger news to talk about. First thing, biggest news in my opinion that we've had in some time. We talked about how North and South Korea have been kind of starting to get along following the Olympics. Kim Jong-un kind of saw the Olympics as a chance to get into the spotlight and make himself and his country not look like so ridiculously, extremely, weird and isolated. Because, everyone in the Western world kind of has this image of North Korea that we view through the mainstream media, which is very propagandized against North Korea. And don't get me wrong, I'm not a North Korea apologist. I'm not a Kim Jong-un apologist. But the reality of North Korea is different than what we're presented in the media, and the entertainment industry. There was that. What was that movie? It was actually pretty funny, with Seth Rogen, right? And what's that dude's name? Franco? God, I can't remember his first name. You guys remember the movie that was about them going and hanging out with the North Korean dictator, and it was hacked, supposedly. Sony was hacked ahead of the movie, and they blamed that on North Korea, which actually turned out to be false. However, I'm just trying to kind of paint a picture here of the only view that we know of North Korea is through an angle of propaganda, pro-Western propaganda. And so the U.S. has been at war with North Korea ever since the Korean War. There's never actually a peace agreement. It's kind of like I guess you would call it like a detente, where it's like, okay, it's like a ceasefire, basically. The North and South Korea and the United States, they're not officially at peace. They're just in a state of ceasefire, more or less. A more concrete type of ceasefire. And so it's always been that the Korean Peninsula has been on the brink of war ever since, the late 50s, when the U.S. went and decided it was going to intervene. There was other stuff going on over there. That peninsula has been the source of confrontation for a very long time. I mean, the ancient Chinese, dynasties have tried to go over there. Japan went over there. Japan committed a bunch of war crimes over there back, prior to World War II and stuff. Very complicated history, but one of that we know of in Western society is very skewed. Anyway, that being said, the North kind of saw the Olympics as a chance to represent itself to the world, right? Say, hey, look, we're not so different than you guys. We're human beings. We have athletes. We play hockey. We play sports. And it was actually very successful. The North and South were able to create a dialogue because, of course, the Olympics were held in South Korea. North and South were able to create a dialogue, to create negotiations. In fact, they've gone so far as talking about reunification of the Koreas. I mean, very major talks and statements coming from North and South. The North Korean media is all state-run media, and they put out statements, very positive statements about negotiations and stuff. And recently, South Korea has been putting out, making updates about the progress they've been having with their negotiations and stuff. And it's been really positive. And the latest stuff, and this is huge news. Not only did North Korea meet with South Korea and agree to halt its missile testing and to halt, for now, its nuclear program, but they also said that they were willing to meet with Donald Trump and try to hash out some kind of, denuclearization agreement. And the latest report is saying that North Korea is looking for a peace agreement, like finally an official peace agreement. I mean, like I said, it's been going on since the late 50s. We've technically been at war with North Korea. Now they want peace. And Trump...
Trump stumbled ass backwards into that one, didn't he?
Yeah, and to his credit, right away he went on Twitter and he's like, yep, I'm going to meet with Kim Jong-un. And it was like even before his advisors and stuff could tell him, no, bro, no, you can't do that. And for all of the flaws that Trump has, nobody could say that he's not just going right off the cuff, especially when he's on Twitter and stuff like that. And when he goes off script, a lot of times it's a disaster, but other times it's accidentally brilliant. And I think that's kind of what happened here with him just immediately saying, yeah, I'm down to meet with Kim Jong-un. Later on we find out, well, you got to set a bunch of preconditions. You got to do this, you got to do that. Well, Trump didn't care about none of that stuff. He just went on Twitter and said, yeah, I'm going to meet with the guy. And so it looks like this meeting might happen. And judging by prior meetings that Trump has had, talk a bunch of stuff during the election about China, and then when he finally met with the Chinese president, he totally changed his tune, and now Trump is like, all he has is praise for the Chinese president, even when just recently China changed its constitution to allow the president to stay in power indefinitely. Trump almost overly supportive of that move to the point where it's like, wait, dude, like, you're not thinking about doing this in the United States, are you? And I think he jokingly kind of said, yeah, maybe we can try that in the U.S. one day. But I do think he was kind of joking about that. You never know, though. But this meeting between Trump and Kim Jong-un could be one for the record books, and it could actually bring about some kind of, at the very least, lessening of tensions. Because right now, and we've been reporting on this pretty much constantly for the last few months, and I had a source with knowledge of naval maneuvering and stuff in the U.S. Navy telling me that they're positioning for some kind of military strikes against North Korea sometime soon. So it couldn't come at a better time, and I think maybe Kim Jong-un feels the pressure, and he knows that, Trump kind of has relegated a lot of his decision-making with the military over to, like, the generals and stuff, and these guys are bloodthirsty, and I'm sure the generals are in bed with the military contractors and stuff. These guys make a ton of money anytime they engage in a new conflict. We saw when Trump first dropped missiles on the Syrian government, the military contractor stocks just shot through the roof, and so these guys would make a ton of money from a new war in Korea. So, maybe this will be a good thing. We've gotten dangerously close to a war with these guys. The South Koreans don't want a war with North Korea. They know, because they would be the battleground. They don't want to be fighting on their, home front. And the new South Korean president ran on a platform of peace negotiations with North Korea because the people of South Korea also don't want war. So the United States has more or less just been the one getting in the way of the peace process recently anyway, with Mike Pence going over to the Olympics, explicitly stating that he was going to go over there to counteract what was seen as a North Korean, what would you call it, like a charm, I don't know how you would call that, but basically, Pence went over there to say he was going to counter North Korean propaganda, and he said a bunch of hawkish stuff while he was over there. He went over there, met with Japan, said that they were going to, heighten tensions with North Korea, and all Pence did over there in the Olympics was basically talk smack about North Korea and then get dissed by that gay athlete. That was pretty much what Pence accomplished over there. He didn't do shit but disrespect people. He disrespected South Korea even when he refused to stand for the, when the teams came out together. And then he got dissed by that athlete who said he refused to meet with Pence because Pence hates gay people, more or less. So, Pence went over there and embarrassed himself. Thankfully, he didn't. I wrote an article about this when Pence was over there, and the article was about, hopefully Pence doesn't ruin the peace negotiations by, further offending North and South Korea. And it looks like he didn't. The peace effort from the North looks to be more genuine and deeper than just a superficial, like, oh, hey, we're just trying to get concessions. It looks like they genuinely are trying to find some kind of peace over there, which is why they were able to brush off the shenanigans by Mike Pence and say, you know what, yeah, let's meet with Trump and let's see what happens. So, it's anybody's guess what's actually going to happen when they do meet. Who knows? Maybe they won't get along. Maybe Trump's going to get pissed off. Maybe Kim Jong-un's going to storm out because he's offended. Who knows what's actually going to happen? But by any means, this could be a breakthrough moment for, the prospects of peace over there, which, has been a major source of contention for a very long time, very, very long time. But especially now under the Trump administration, it's become their new kind of number one spot where they want to ratchet up tensions and spread fear and act like North Korea is going to nuke the West Coast and stuff like that. I don't buy into any of that stuff because North Korea has not shown any, affinity towards bombing any other country. They haven't bombed any other countries. They've had little skirmishes with South Korea here and there, but they haven't. North Korea has never bombed anybody. And if North Korea was going to bomb somebody, by now it would have been Japan because of the history that went on there with World War II, pre-World War II and stuff. They haven't. I mean, they have the capability. They've got the weapons. They've got the missile technology. They haven't bombed anybody. So I never really take the supposed threat of North Korea seriously, just because to believe that there's a threat, you have to have some kind of evidence that they're willing to use their force. They haven't used it ever. So, I just don't see a threat there. So hopefully we can get past all that, and maybe Trump and Kim Jong-un will actually do something good. I don't praise Trump very often, and I have been a big critic of their strategy with North Korea. I don't think diplomacy should be based on scaring the shit out of somebody. It should be based on mutual agreement and partnerships and working together economically, and letting people travel in and out, and exchanging culture and that kind of stuff is the way I would prefer to do diplomacy. But if this is what brought them to the table, hopefully they can bring something out of it that isn't going to be the source of a major war. Because let's not forget, the history of North Korea is very complicated. Again, like I said, when the U.S. got involved over there in the Korean War, that was I believe, the first and only time that the U.S. came into direct conflict with China, and with actually fighting Chinese troops. And North Korea is very close to China. They share a border. They share economic ties. China has made it clear that if somebody were to attack North Korea unprovoked, that China would actually step in and defend them. That means that if the U.S. went and started bombing, North Korea without actually bombing in defense, China may actually step in and say, nope, you guys aren't going to do that, which would bring the U.S. and China into a direct conflict. So, the implications here are very, very, dire. Like, we need to hash a peace deal out with North Korea, or the prospects of world war go way higher if we don't, And so, that's a big deal. Something that we're going to hopefully be talking about over the next month or two. They're supposed to meet sometime. They're supposed to meet by May, so it's going to happen in the next month or two, next couple months, and we're going to figure all that out as it goes and update and get some analysis. Maybe we'll have some. Maybe we'll bring James back on the program because he's been following that the Asian theater very closely and just analyzing it and stuff. We'll bring James Holbrooks back on the program to talk about that sometime soon. Next piece of news. So, of course, I'm kind of applauding what Trump did. Not what Trump did, but the fact that Trump came out and said, "Yeah, I'll meet with Kim Jong-un." I'm glad about that. What I'm not glad about now is Trump having this military parade. Right? I mean, this is like the biggest, dumbest waste of money, but it makes like perfect sense. Jake, I want to get your take on this because everyone kind of views this thing a little bit differently. I want to get your take, and then I have an interesting perspective to bring in.
Wait. Sorry, what's my take on what?
On this military parade, dude? I mean, what do you think about this thing?
Honestly, that I literally haven't paid attention to that story at all because it seems very inconsequential and stupid to me. I mean, in general, of course, I don't support a military parade because I don't support anything our military has done in like 50 years. So, what exactly? Remind me what exactly is the parade for?
I don't know. It's
exactly what is it? Is it an arbitrary parade to celebrate the military? Who gives a shit?
Yeah. Basically, it's a big parade to show off our military might.
That sounds like the same thing as having a police parade.
Yeah. So a couple interesting angles on this. First of all, they've projected this to cost up to $50 million, which, according to some articles I read, would be enough to feed all the homeless veterans in the country. So, I mean, it's a waste of money, first of all, but $50 million on the grand scheme of things is very minuscule because, they just raised defense spending by like $85 billion. So, I mean, it's not like, oh my God, $50 million. I mean, that's a penny. That's a drop in the bucket for what the government spends every day. Not too worried about the money. But we do have an interesting headline on the Anti-Media today, top story. Nation trying to figure out gun violence to hold military parade glorifying war. And so this is kind of a recurring theme that we've had on the show for the last, several weeks at least, and we've talked about this before. We're still in the middle of this debate. You still got the kids walking out of school. You still got people talking about gun control. You still got people trying to figure out, okay, well, why is this gun violence keep happening? You got people talking about arming the teachers. You got people talking about turning the schools into fortresses and stuff. Like, the conversation is still going. I find it very ironic that they're going to hold a military parade in the wake of all this gun violence because, like, these military dudes are going to be marching down the street with guns in their hands. You know what I'm saying? Like, a parade, and it's going to be on Veterans Day, which is a day to kind of celebrate all the veterans of foreign wars. And Jake, like you said, there hasn't really been a just war since World War II, right? When we went to go, fight the Nazis and, fight back against the Japanese. Most of the veterans living right now in the U.S. have fought from the Korean War onward, which means that, and the Korean War, the Vietnam War, both of which were supposedly to combat the rise of and the spread of communism, many people, including myself, would call those wars unjust wars, and I think they genuinely are unjust. And there really hasn't been a war since then that we've actually should have been fighting. We went to Iraq to go liberate them, supposedly, and we wrecked the place. Went to Afghanistan to, hunt down bin Laden and defeat the Taliban. Just recently, they announced that the Taliban is, going to exist in Afghanistan after the U.S. is no longer trying to defeat the Taliban. So what are we actually doing there? It's anyone's guess. I would say there's more nefarious things going on in Afghanistan right now. So we're having a parade to celebrate a bunch of veterans and the active duty military parading the guns out. Trump wanted tanks. They said, okay, no tanks, it'll damage the roads. But they're parading weapons and institutions that are used to kill people. And they're glorifying them. They're celebrating them. And at the same time, the country is having a conversation about, well, why are we so violent? Why is this culture so violent? We just don't understand it. We got to take away the guns. We got to arm the teachers. Oh, yeah, and by the way, we're having a massive parade where we're going to march around a bunch of huge-ass guns that kill tons of people, and we're going to fly over jets, and we're going to march military guys down the street with rifles. It's like, God, are we really at this point where people can't put these two things together and say, holy shit, they're connected? It really, it honestly, blows my mind that while we're having this conversation about gun violence, we're also marching, having our first ever military parade, national military parade. I mean, it really blows my mind. It's just there's such a disconnect between the reality and this fictional reality that we're told to be talking about, that it just, wow, to me. It's just holy shit, this is real. This is really happening. So yeah, parade. And I'm with you, Jake. I mean, Trump wants to have his parade to measure his, to wave his dick around for the whole world. Fine, dude. It's only $50 million. $50 million, a drop in the bucket of what this country spends on military. Not too concerned about that, but it is very ironic that this is going on during the gun debate.
Yeah, inappropriate at best.
Yep. What else are we going to talk about tonight? Lots of we got a big announcement first. Let's get to that, and then that'll kind of segue us into our next thing here. So the anti-media from now on is going to be posting on Steemit. All of our content is going to go up on Steemit first, even before it goes up on our website. We're doing this as part of our new strategy to lower our dependence on Facebook. Facebook has just been shitting all over publishers, and they've been at war with us for a long time, and for a long time we've been able to stay ahead of the algorithm and change our tactics to continue to reach our audience that we built up over the last 5-6 years. But Facebook has finally just fully put the nail in the coffin of independent media and media upstarts and stuff. The only media that's going to be left showing in the newsfeed are going to be the big companies who can afford to pay to get placed in the newsfeed. And I'll tell you what, like, it would be one thing if we were like selling a product, and if it's like, oh well, I'm gonna pay Facebook to show this post, and maybe I'll sell a couple hundred of these products that are worth a lot of money, and maybe I'll make $20,000 from my $5,000 investment on Facebook ads. That's not the case with us. I mean, we're not selling any products. We're just trying to put information out, and for the price that it would cost us to advertise on Facebook, we would literally just be throwing away money, because we're only like we make like $2 for every 1,000 people that read our articles. In order to reach 1,000 people paying Facebook to do it would probably cost us like shit. I don't even want to know. Like, it would be a lot more expensive to pay people to pay Facebook to reach people than the money we would actually make return from the revenue that we would generate off of it. The way media outlets like us make money is by putting out information, and a lot of people reading it, and we make a tiny, we make less than a penny from each person that reads the article. So it's just not feasible for us to pay Facebook to show our articles. If it was, we'd already be doing it, but it's not. Now, why can these big companies do this? Well, several reasons. For one, they're backed by huge amounts of capital. For two, they got tons of money. And three, they peddle influence. So there's people, like, for instance, let's just give an example here, with the Washington Post being owned by Jeff Bezos, who now is the richest man in the world, owner of Amazon. He bought Washington Post as a company that's losing money, right? And you say, well, why is such a shrewd businessman like Jeff Bezos, he makes very smart business decisions, why is he buying a failing media outlet like the Washington Post? Well, he wasn't buying it to make money, he was buying it to spread influence. And this is why companies, big media companies, New York Times, CNN, NBC, Washington Post, they make money, and of course the Fox, the Murdoch empire. They're not necessarily profitable companies that make money just by people watching their shows, reading their articles, paying their subscribing to them. They get influx of capital to spread influence. Bezos bought Washington Post so that he can make Amazon look good. Go on Washington Post right now. I dare you to go look and see if there's any articles criticizing Amazon. I dare you. Or Jeff Bezos. Go look. There's not. I already checked. There's all these scandals recently with, Amazon workers being on food stamps, Amazon workers getting tracked with all this Internet of Things devices and stuff like that. Not a word of it comes up on Washington Post. And when they do cover Amazon, do they put a disclaimer at the bottom saying, oh yeah, by the way, the guy who owns us also owns Amazon? No, they don't. They don't make a disclosure. And so, that being said, we're making the move to Steemit first in an effort to generate more revenue because the Facebook stuff has really just dried up. It's impossible to reach anybody now, and we post articles that should be going viral. You could see them spike in traffic, and then Facebook kills it after like 2 or 3 minutes, just kills it dead in the water, and then says, "Hey guys, this post is performing 80% better than your other post. Put some money behind it, and we'll show it to your audience that you built yourself over the years and years that you've been making our platform entertaining." And that's not the only thing. Not only is Facebook itself screwing people like us, but in fact, people are like leaving Facebook in flocks. I don't know if you guys have noticed your friends, less and less people. All the people I know that are like younger than me, 25 and younger, they're like, "Oh no, we don't even have Facebook anymore." Headline from the 8th of this month on fastcompany.com: chances are you're spending 24% less time on Facebook. Here, I'm going to just read the quote out of this article verbatim because it's been a few days since I read it, so I can't remember exactly what it said. Quote, "It was less than a month ago when I wrote about a trend that should be very worrying for Facebook, namely that users are spending less time on the platform. According to Nielsen numbers through November of last year, interpreted by Pivotal, the social network lost 4% in aggregated time spent." So aggregated time spent is going to be kind of the amount of time you spend each day on Facebook, which for some people amounts to hours. I know for me, I'm on there all day because it's part of my work. Aggregate between everybody using it and then combine it, kind of averaged out. Quote, "Now new numbers have been released that go through December." So the 4% drop was through November of last year. It was like a 12-month sampling period, right? Now the new numbers have been released that go through December, and that problem only seems to get worse. The updated data shows that Facebook's core platform lost 18% in time spent, which is a huge change from the month before. This, says Pivotal, reflects a 24% decline in time spent per person. Not only that, but Instagram too has saw some major poor engagement numbers. Though aggregated consumption went up, the user base went up at a higher clip, meaning that the time per person went down 9%. So Facebook is, look, throughout the last, from November of 2016 to November of 2017, the time spent went down only 4%. When you start calculating the most recent months, you're starting to see that it's dropping 18%, 24%. Like, basically, Facebook is now on that death spiral, I think. And, of course, everyone still has it, but the big number here, it's not people are deleting Facebook, they are, but the bigger number is that people are spending much, much less time on Facebook, which means that people have become fatigued. People have become tired of it. I think my personal opinion is that the algorithm they've tried to make the news feed so algorithmically curated that it lost all of its human element, which made Facebook so amazing because it was just you were connecting with your friends. They would post stuff that people would find interesting, even if they didn't agree with it. Now Facebook has you set up into an algorithm where it literally feeds you the exact content that it thinks you want to see. So you're not challenged. You're not seeing anything new. You're seeing just stuff that you already agree with, stuff that's like, "Oh yeah, I love Bernie Sanders," and it's like everyone in your feed's like, "Oh yeah, I love Bernie Sanders too. Oh cool, great, yeah, that's awesome." Or it's like all the same shit that people are hate. You know, it's like, "Oh, I hate big oil." It's like, "Oh, everybody in my feed hates big oil too," and it's literally just like, okay, let's show this guy everything that he agrees with, and then serve up an ad that we think is, you know, based on all the shit we know about this person. Serve him up some ads. And then serve him up some posts that he's going to agree with. And, you know, that's kind of, in my opinion, what's killing Facebook. Instead of them just letting it be the Wild West like it once was, it's like, hey, we're going to control every single fucking bit of content that comes through this fucking feed. And you guys are going to fucking pay us for it. People are like, I don't know about that, dude. We're going to look for something else. And so I've been noticing a lot of Facebook fatigue. Like, I'm tired of using it. I'm bored to death of it. But it's not just the algorithm that's killing the anti-media's traffic right now. It's also the fact that our users are just like, they're not even on there very much anymore to even see our shit, even if it does somehow wind up in the news feed, if it makes it through all the algorithmic filters. Even if it's there, the people ain't even there no more. And so people are starting to look for new social networks. I saw a bunch recently. I mean, there's a few that we can mention. Jake, didn't you write an article about like 5 different...
No, I was going to. Well, I mean, there's Minds, there's, there's Steam It, obviously, and isn't there like a kind of more conservative one?
There was a new one. Yeah, there's a conservative one called Gab, which is kind of like a Twitter alternative for, that doesn't really it doesn't really ban hate speech and stuff like that. I wouldn't recommend that place. It's I don't know. I guess if you're a right winger, it's not too bad. There's a new one called Vero, right? There's another one called MeWe. I haven't looked into all these, but I've been seeing them posted a lot, and people are talking about these things. And I looked at their Alexa ratings and stuff, and these new social media sites are going up through the roof exponentially. Mine's. Go ahead.
This is what I think is going to happen. Is for this model of social networking, Facebook has the monopoly on it. What I think is going to happen is disruptive technologies are coming quicker and quicker these days. I don't know whether it will be virtual reality or augmented mobile. There's going to be some new disruptive technology that is going to be wildly popular, and then the next generation of social media will be built around that model. And so Facebook will just be naturally phased out because they won't have been, despite their building 8 or whatever secret research lab they have, and they're probably way ahead of the game on a bunch of different things. But it's kind of a dice roll what disruptive technology catches on big time. Like no one expected Vine to become as big as it did when it hit, and that was just 6-second video clips and whatnot. And as the technology gets better and better, the disruptive technology will be happening quicker and quicker. And all it's going to take is for one of these people to go big and then not accept a deal from Facebook to be bought by them, and that will be the next generation of social networking. And hopefully that will happen because, if Facebook is becoming like they're becoming like the Rupert Murdoch of social media, and it sucks, and everyone's starting to hate it. And so it's really just a matter of the next big change. I don't know whether it'll be augmented or virtual or something that we don't even know about yet, but something's going to shake them from their throne because they're awful.
Yeah, and they've become too powerful, and Facebook's been trying to assert itself as the arbiter of truth. Again, with the algorithmic filtering, it's filtered us out. It's elevated people like the Washington Post, all the old movers. Washington Post, CNN, they get preferential treatment in the newsfeed. Part of the reason why the internet has been so amazing, part of the reason why we've seen this renaissance of independent media in the last several years was because the internet added a democratized element to our media consumption, right? And so part of the reason that people found Facebook valuable was because they could come on Facebook and find these alternate views on media and alternate websites like the anti-media and say, oh, cool, there's other people out there spreading different views on these certain subjects. And that's part of the reason why that's where I found most of my value in Facebook, was finding these alternate voices out there, whether it's activists or news outlets or just people in general. Finding different views is part of the reason why I used to love going on Facebook. And now I get on here and it's the algorithm serving me up not alternative views, it's serving me up the views that I already have and that I already want to see.
Well, yeah, I mean, a perfect storm hit, which is that the trolls and the tabloids pushed the envelope really hard on creating clickbait material, and then Hillary lost the election, and so the mainstream flipped out and basically regarded everything out of the manufactured spectrum of political dialogue.
Yeah.
Acceptable, and so that just killed everything. So it's not like there's one or two simple answers for what happened. It's a complex sociological thing that's gone on in the past 2 years, or however, even maybe a bit longer. But I mean, if Clinton had won, I don't think we would have seen quite as big of a swing. But in the long run, it might be a good thing. I mean, if the people reject Facebook because of this very transparent filtering of news, I think that'll be a good thing, because in the future, companies will be less inclined to kind of try and arbit the truth with an algorithm, hopefully.
Yeah, dude. Yeah, exactly. And from a philosophical standpoint, I can't wait until the day that we can say, you know what, Facebook's dead. And nobody has replaced them. And everyone's splintered off into a bunch of different niche websites. And there's some people on Twitter, there's some people on Snapchat, there's some people on Steemit, there's some people on Minds, there's some people on Gab, there's some people here, there's some people there. I can't wait for that day. Like, philosophically, I want this monopoly of Facebook to die a horrible death and be shattered into a million pieces and blown out into the wind. That's what I want. From a business standpoint, it's tough.
You sound like Kennedy talking about the CIA now, man.
Yeah, exactly. I want what Kennedy wanted to do to the CIA is what I want done to Facebook, right? And the same goes for YouTube. The same goes for Google. These huge guys wield too much fucking power.
Yeah, YouTube's just as bad.
YouTube is just as bad.
In terms of demonetization, they're even worse.
They're worse, yeah. YouTube. The argument can be made that YouTube is even worse than Facebook. And of course, YouTube is owned by Google. Instagram is owned by Facebook. We're talking. Look, between Google, Facebook, and Amazon, you're talking about basically a monopoly over much of the way the internet works when it comes to monetizing information. Those three account for most of the monetizing. I would say like 95% of it.
And all they are is an upstream filter for the old monopolies. Is the irony, is that the social networks were supposed to be a new democratization of media. Instead, they literally just became gatekeepers for the old monopolies, which is the old mainstream news. This crony capitalism is so disgusting. It's just it's tedious as hell. Dude.
So backwards. It's so backwards. It's so frustrating. And like I said, part of the reason why I enjoyed Facebook was because of the democratization of the information available, and that's what allowed us to create the anti-media and thrive and be in business for all these years and wind up with 2 million followers, and we've probably had hundreds of millions of hits on our website. Our memes have been seen by 1 billion people. It's really allowed us to do our thing for so long, but after this last election, like you said, it's like the mainstream media's revenge. They're like, oh, these motherfuckers think they can go around and undermine us and counter our narratives and talk shit about us. Well, here's our plan. We're going to call them all Russian agents, and we're going to get Facebook and Google to fuck them over every way possible. And that's what they've done. And because Facebook and YouTube and Google have yielded to these outside influences, and now let's not get too confused here, because I'm sure these companies share board members. I'm sure there's a board member that's on Facebook that's also a board member of Time Warner, and these are incestuous companies that are all interrelated and they're all looking out for each other, right? But there's been a chorus of media outlets calling for censorship. I remember when this stuff first started coming out, I couldn't believe it, because normally when you hear about people going after free speech and going after journalism and stuff, you would hear it from like a despotic kind of politician. It really blew my mind when I found out that the mainstream media was actually calling for censorship. That the mainstream media was calling to ban fake, quote unquote fake news, ban alternative views, And
these Anderson Cooper types are absolute despots. I mean, they're not journalists. They're literally, I mean, they're fancy diplomats for the state. That's all they are.
Yeah, dude, really, they really are. And it blew my mind that the media was the ones that were actually calling for the restriction of free speech. Like, you just don't think that because it's so ironic, it's so hypocritical. It's just like, no. The media is going to protect free speech. That's what the media is supposed to be doing. And then you got the media out here actually undermining free speech because their profits are getting hurt and their monopoly on influence has been breached by independent media. I mean, call it what you want, fake news, Russian trolls. There was so much people against Hillary Clinton from the independent media, and I'll be honest, the anti-media went harder against Hillary Clinton than we did against Trump. Now, we went hard against both of them because they're both completely awful. Now, personally, it was hard to go after too much on Trump because he's not been in politics his whole life. Hillary Clinton is fucking a walking backstory of dirt. Like, there's just so much dirt on Hillary Clinton that it's just like every day there's more and more stuff. So it was naturally easy to go after Hillary Clinton and just show all the horrible shit she's done, which, you know, she's got more bodies piled up than many, people who we would consider despots in history. I mean, look at what gone on in Libya. I mean, 100,000 people probably dead now because of, largely because of Hillary Clinton. Very, very ugly things that she has supported and done. It was, obviously we went a little bit off script with Trump. Like, Hillary Clinton was supposed to be the president, and all the people in charge of shit were in agreement. Hillary Clinton is supposed to be president. There was so much opposition to her, and we led the way in opposition. I mean, we opposed Hillary Clinton so deeply that I don't even know how to put it into words. But we also opposed Trump very deeply. But at the same time, no one even took Trump seriously. No one ever thought that it was even a possibility. So, like, personally, I didn't even see it as I almost saw criticizing Trump as a waste of time because it was just like, there's no fucking chance in hell he's going to win, so we might as well go after Hillary Clinton. Yeah, so that when she gets in power, at least she's weak, right?
Yeah.
No one expected that, and I think we genuinely did go off script. Not to say that Trump isn't now part of the problem, which of course he is, but he wasn't supposed to be the president, according to these guys, and especially according to the media narrative, and he is. And so now this is kind of the media's revenge, right? They're like, all right, you assholes want to break our grip on monopoly, our monopoly on information. Here you go. Here's a new algorithm for you. We're going to pressure Facebook into shutting you guys down. And like I said, I think there's a lot of people out there that actually enjoyed Facebook for the same reasons that I enjoyed Facebook, which was for the diversity of information, the democratization of media. And now that they're not seeing that anymore, I think that's partially the reason why people are spending less time on Facebook, because they're seeking out other places to find alternate information. The antimedia.org we have a few social features built in. I mean, it's not a social media platform, but it is a social news platform. You guys can, we need more help collecting the news. If you guys go to the site, and post links in the My News section for us so we could get those up on the page and, help us democratize the information, because the stuff that we cover, of course, it's the stuff that us and the stuff that our journalists like to cover, the stuff that we find interesting. And then their news section is stuff that all the other websites who we trust find, what they want to cover. The My News section is really our area where everybody that reads our website can go post the articles that they find important. Yeah, go ahead.
So you see, I mean, I think even though it could take longer, I think this is ultimately going to be a good thing. I mean, I think Anti-Media and Steam It, I think, have a shared underlying philosophical foundation, and this is going to be a more synergistic relationship than us and Facebook. So, I mean, do you see it that way in terms of a long-term partnership?
Yeah, dude. I see the demise of Facebook as a good thing. While we don't have an official partnership with Steemit, it is much more aligned with our core values of decentralization, right? Because maybe Facebook was this great platform at one point, maybe some years ago. But it has become a major part of the problem. It's become a monopolistic, money hungry mouthpiece, for the establishment, I guess, in many ways. And so the demise of Facebook is a good thing. Us looking for the alternatives is a good thing. Us joining Steemit, I think, is a good thing. Now, the only thing that isn't good is our pocketbook right now, because we're hurting for money really bad. But it's stuff that we're just gonna have to deal with and fight through. And we got some major stuff on the way that's going to be bigger than anything that's ever happened in independent media. Again, I can't say what it is because we're under non-disclosure agreements and stuff like that. But if this thing comes through in the next few months, I'll be able to talk about it some more with you guys. It's going to be the biggest thing that's ever happened to independent media. So, hopefully that comes through, and then a lot of our problems dealing with Facebook and Google and all that shit are going to fall to the wayside because, we're not going to have to worry too much about that stuff anymore. But, that'll you guys will be the first ones to hear about it when it happens. I'm really excited, and, we'll see. But in the meantime, it's like tooth and nail we're fighting to survive and trying to keep everybody going, keep all of our staff on board and all that stuff. It's not your guys' fault. It's partially my own fault for not looking for alternatives long ago, not seeing the writing on the wall with Facebook. I mean, Facebook's been at war with us for a long time. It started before the 2016 election, but the 2016 election just gave them it gave the powers that be the excuse to crack down. And we should have been working on Steemit and stuff a year ago when all this stuff started unfolding. Unfortunately, I didn't pull the trigger back then because I just was being short-sighted, I guess you could say. But we're at it now.
Dude.
What's that?
You were busy, man.
Yeah.
It's a lot of work what you do.
Yeah, that too. But I don't want to go blame everybody, but we've made our own fair amount of mistakes too, and we're trying to work through them. But yeah, Steemit first. That's where all of our content is going up first. Now, of course, the stuff's still going to be going up on our website momentarily after. But as a show of goodwill towards Steemit and our community that we're building on Steemit, is we're posting our stuff there. You're still going to be able to see the stuff on the website literally a few minutes later. So if you don't want to be on Steemit, if you don't want to deal with social media and all that stuff, you don't have to sign up for Steemit because it's still going to be on our website a few minutes later. But we're doing this in an effort to kind of bolster our commitment to Steemit and hopefully let the people out there know that we're serious about supporting that platform because Facebook's done. It's done. It's on the way down. I think Facebook's in the death spiral. So we'll see how that plays out. But our future is not with Facebook. Our future is with what's going to come next. And so it's anyone's guess what's going to be the next big thing. But like I said, from a philosophical standpoint, I don't want there to be a next big thing, honestly, because because it's like MySpace and then it's like everyone goes to Facebook. And then if everyone goes to the next big social media platform, we're still going to have the same fundamental problem with relegating the internet over to a small group of people. Like the same problem we're dealing with right now with Facebook, where they can all of a sudden say, all right, algorithm time, cut all the independent media people out of the newsfeed, only show Washington Post and Fox News and CNN, and, that's just how it's going to be. Well, if everyone goes to when Facebook dies and everybody goes to a different social media platform, guess what? We're still going to have the same problem. We're going to put a handful of people in charge of deciding what information comes out to the public. And that's not good. We need to splinter it into the wind. Shatter it. So, yeah, there's my rant on our issues right now. Anyway, some more new stuff. Jake, you'll find this one interesting. Did you hear about all these partnerships that IBM just announced to their shareholders regarding blockchain? So IBM just announced that it's got let's see, where's the stat here? Hold on. Damn it, why is this happening? Okay, here we go. IBM is currently involved in 400 separate blockchain projects with 63 different clients, including Walmart, Visa, Dow, Nestle, DuPont, HSBC, and that's only naming a few of the big clients. So basically, blockchain technology is now a major part of IBM's business model, and it's been part of the reason why they've become profitable for the first time in several years. And they're massively upping their dedication to blockchain. So it's a good piece of news. I mean, of course, the clientele are a bit shady. You know, these big companies. It's funny to criticize about Walmart and Nestle and stuff. But the fact that these guys are starting to embrace blockchain tells us that this technology is here to stay. And we've been kind of knowing this. Jake, you've been doing a lot of reporting on blockchain. This is a big announcement. I mean, to announce that some of the biggest companies in the world are embracing this technology, it's a big deal. It's a big deal. And IBM listed this as one of the reasons why they've become profitable for the first time in a long time. You know, and it just shows that there's a lot of interest in blockchain within the business community, and that it's got a promising, you know, future. It's going to help when these kind of technologies start becoming mainstream. It's because it's going to help the public in some way or, you know, some form. Ideally, with blockchain stuff, depending on what you're looking for, there's a bunch of different blockchain projects. If you want privacy, if you want anonymous currencies, they've got those. If you want lowered transaction fees, if you send remittances, like I've got a bunch of friends who have family in Mexico and they send money back, you know, every month or every week out of their paycheck. It costs them a lot of money to use Western Union. Blockchain is going to make that stuff a lot cheaper, almost free, you know, in many ways. So, you know, blockchain is going to make our financial system much different, and depending on how everything plays out, if Bitcoin winds up being a worldwide reserve currency, it'll totally upend the banking systems and stuff, and totally democratize finance, and you know, change the way that the world does business and stuff. This stuff could really, you know, Bitcoin especially, and other cryptocurrencies, if people start taking them much more seriously, there's countries now that are starting to use cryptocurrencies as their national currencies. We just saw the Marshall Islands announce. We've seen a few countries recently create their own cryptocurrencies. Iran, Venezuela. You know, some of these countries that are under heavy sanctions are using crypto to undermine the sanctions and stuff. This is world-changing technology, and it is pretty much becoming mainstream, especially with this announcement from IBM. So that's some good news. Let's see, what else we got today? Putin. Yeah, of course, the Russia stuff is ongoing. There's a big interview. What was that on NBC? Confronting Putin. Took a huge interview, clipped it down to some talking points. So, you know, Russia's the boogeyman, of course, still, and they're still trying to pin the election on Russia and stuff. No one wants to take responsibility for that shit show of an election, you know, where Hillary lost and this country elected some doofus asshole to be the president. I think nobody wants to admit that the U.S. is that vile. Anyway, thank you all for tuning in. We'll be back on Wednesday. Anti-Media Radio. Peace out. But call it a reality, cause there's no illusion. This is live through the stereo. Go and let it blow through the stereo. I'ma let them know through the stereo. Yo, here we go through the stereo. This is live through the stereo. Go and let it blow through the stereo. I'ma let them know through the stereo. Yo, here we go through the stereo.